It is common for people to head to the internet for health information. In fact, Google receives 1 billion health-related searches daily, 70,000 searches a minute. You can imagine what that means for coronavirus-related health searches. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Health Talks. I'm Laura, founder of chickenall.com, and today my guest is Dr. Kenel Pierre, vascular surgeon with the University of Miami Health System. Welcome, doctor. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Laura. I appreciate it.
We're going to be talking about a critical aspect of heart health, including some factors that we're learning, and it pertains to coronavirus vascular health. Something, doctor, that I was like, okay, I'm confused. So let me start by saying that the term vascular sometimes can be confusing to the average patient. So can you please explain what is this about?
Absolutely. So as you said, vascular disease can be confusing because people think about vascular and they think, oh, it must be the varicose veins I have in my legs.
Yes.
It must be, the fact that I have these little spider veins that show up. But the truth is, whatever affects your heart, like high blood pressure, like high cholesterol, and causes blockages in the heart, can also affect the arteries in your legs, in your neck, and in other parts of your body. So when we talk about vascular disease, it's the same disease that happens in the small vessels or the coronaries in the heart, but everywhere else in your body, okay? And that can be split up between arterial and venous. If you think about it, it's like the plumbing system of the body.
Yes, we never think about that, especially women. We're like, okay, the veins, the legs, that's all we know.
Yeah.
So vascular health is pretty much everything, right, in our body.
Correct. So the veins are only a very small part of what we deal with as vascular surgeons. And when you say veins, people look and they see veins and they say, oh, this is what's wrong with me. But the truth is, there are two kinds of veins in your legs, for example. You have deep veins that are inside the muscles, and then you have superficial veins that are the ones that are on the outside that you can almost see sometimes if you're working out very heavily, or if you happen to have something like venous insufficiency, which is when you have a reflux in your veins. I can talk about that a little bit later. But that's very small amount of what is vascular disease. Remember, when you have blood flow coming from your heart going down towards your feet, those are arteries that are delivering the blood flow. When you have the blood flow that comes from the feet back up to the heart, those are the veins. So it's like two directions, a different set of piping, so to speak. One carries oxygenated blood, those are the arteries. And once that oxygen has been used by the tissue and it comes back to the heart, the veins are the ones that carry those back. So vascular comprises both of those systems.
And doctor, what causes circulatory problems in our body?
Okay. So when you have circulation issues, it can be either venous or arterial. What the most common form of arterial problems is because of one of three issues: high blood pressure, cholesterol issues that cause atherosclerosis, and most commonly, smoking.
Wow.
Smoking is a very, very big risk factor, and it's underappreciated. People think that smoking affects your lungs, oh, it can give me cancer, but they forget that smoking leads to all kinds of arterial problems as well. And it is a pro-inflammatory mechanism. Essentially, people that smoke tend to have a lot more inflammation in their blood vessels that can lead to major problems like clotting or like progressive atherosclerotic disease.
I'm gonna translate this in Spanish for my sister because she smokes, and let me tell you, it's not easy. It's not easy, doctor. But that's another whole chapter. Let's talk about what do you do as a vascular surgeon? Or I have a problem, I go to the appointment, and then you know my problem, and then how does it work?
So the majority of the time as vascular surgeons, we actually try to educate our patients on what is vascular and arterial disease. Okay. Because the truth is, even though I'm a surgeon, It's not like I run around with the scalpel trying to cut everybody. You have to operate when it's indicated. And because vascular disease is so prominent, there are things that we can do as vascular surgeons that don't necessarily involve having to do surgery. For example, someone that has pain when they walk around and is because of a lack of blood flow to the lower extremities, we call that claudication. That means essentially pain with walking. Oftentimes these patients are diabetics, or they're heavy smokers, or they have another issue that's not being handled. They'll be surprised that the minute they control their diabetes or they stop smoking cigarettes, that pain will stop and they won't need any kind of procedure. You know, a lot of people are very eager to get some kind of small procedure done where they can put a stent inside of a blood vessel to help improve your blood flow, but they don't realize that stent has its consequences. There are problems that can arise from doing that.
Something that you feel inside your body, like, oh my God, I must have something in my veins, or is it inflammatory thing that you feel like bloated, or do you feel like, what are the symptoms?
So it really depends. I mean, if you have disease in your lower extremities, meaning in your legs, and it's usually repetitive, meaning if I walk 2 blocks, I get the same pain in my calf muscle, you probably have some kind of peripheral arterial disease. If you are a heavy smoker, and every time you go to eat something, you have terrible pains in your belly, you may have atherosclerotic disease in the vessels that feed your intestines, which is rare, but it can happen. Oftentimes, patients that have, you know, terrible back pain or terrible chest pain that happens all of a sudden like this could have what's called a dissection. But these are, again, it's rare to see it in the symptomatic finding. Most often, people that have vascular disease, they find out because they have a study done for some other reason. You know, if you have a study done because you're getting a hernia repair or you're getting a chest x-ray and they find something different and they get another study that says, oh, you found all these things going on, maybe you have a vascular problem as well. And they refer to us, at which point we talk to you, we get your history, and we say, okay, you have this or you have that, and this is what we can do. And that's the difference between, you know, someone who can just only do procedures and a vascular specialist who can talk to you about your disease, talk to you about medical options, about minimally invasive or what we call endovascular options, and then surgical options as well. So we can do it all when it comes to vascular.
Okay, now let's talk about coronavirus. I did my homework. So
yes.
At the U Miami Health blog, you said COVID-19 does not just attack the lungs. It attacks, quoting you, it attacks the whole body and can cause serious problems with excessive blood clotting.
Absolutely.
I'm like, what is this? I'm like, I'm so worried, doctor. I'm like, with the COVID-19.
Let me tell you, everybody's very worried with COVID-19. I can understand them because it's a very scary disease. We don't know enough about it. And I think as we encounter more and more patients with COVID, we are seeing that this is not a simple influenza. There's a study that came out in the New England Journal of Medicine that says that COVID-19 patients are 9 times more likely to have what we call microthrombi in the pulmonary vasculature. Long story short, they get blood clots in their lungs, which leads to such bad lung disease. It's not that you have a lung problem. It's the blood vessels in the lung that are not working. And as a result of that, oxygen cannot come in, and people tend to do very poorly very quickly. But it's not only the lungs. That same clotting can happen in the small blood vessels in our fingers, in our toes, as well as the larger blood vessels in our legs. I've had a couple of patients that have had this happen, and it's terrifying because they go from being very well to all of a sudden having significant clotting issues that it's not a good sign in the end.
So probably you didn't have problems before, and now you had the COVID, and later on you start having this kind of health issue.
So not to scare everybody. I don't want to scare everybody and say that you get COVID and then you have a blood clotting problem. No, it's often people that have some kind of a pre-existing issue. But it's to tell you the truth, COVID-19 is not just a simple respiratory problem. This causes a severe pro-inflammatory state, which can lead to a lot of big vascular problems like clotting. And that's what we're finding out more and more. As a result, people are putting these patients on blood thinners to prevent these blood clots from happening. And it's finding that they're having some success with that. In addition, they're putting them on steroids to help suppress that pro-inflammatory state. And there is some success with that, but we still don't know enough about the disease to tell you when we should do this or that. That's an ongoing investigation.
So can you prevent these kind of problems with COVID-19 patients, or is, like you said, an everyday learning experience for you guys?
I think we're learning more and more, and we're finding that since we've started these patients on this blood thinning medication, it has helped prevent, some major complications. However, that's not necessarily a steadfast rule that says all patients that have COVID must be on blood thinners. I don't want to say that. We don't know enough about that. But am I taking a baby aspirin a day? Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about that. To get like a very, very good cardiovascular health, what can we do on a daily basis?
So people always tell you, oh, if you want to be healthy, you need to eat healthy and you cannot have this and you cannot have that. Listen, I'm from Haiti. I'm from a Caribbean country where we eat rice and beans, we eat plátanos.
Of course.
We eat a very fat and starch-rich diet. So if I tell a patient, you cannot have this and you cannot have that, obviously I'd be lying to you, but it's about moderation.
Okay.
So if you can take down the amount of food you eat, and instead of having a big plate like this of rice and beans, you have a small amount and you don't have as much red meat, instead you have more fish, and you include more vegetables in your diet, you're going to do better off from at least the nutritional standpoint. In addition to that, exercise is important. Exercise is important, whether it's just taking a daily walk for 20 to 30 minutes in patients that can't run or can't swim or can't ride a bicycle. A simple walk, 30 minutes a day. If you can do that, you're already improving your overall cardiovascular health. Obviously, if you're a diabetic, you have to control your diabetes. If you're a smoker, you have to pick a date and you have to stop smoking. It's as simple as that. And
that got me into the question because of the quarantine. I guess, our mental health have been challenged.
Yes, it has.
And also, because I'm always worried, oh my God, I'm going to get it. And then I'm washing my hands and I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And I move and I'm a very active person. I do exercise. Thank God the gyms are open. I do my Pilates reformer 4 times or 5 times a week.
That's great.
On the other hand, there's a lot of people who now are working from home, spending too many hours, Facebook, Zoom, computer here, seated at the computer. I guess that's not good for the cardiovascular health.
No, it's not. It's not. Sitting down for a long period of time is not good for not only cardiovascular health, but mental health as well. I mean, this entire pandemic has caused a lot of problems on many different fronts. And I feel for people that have found themselves cooped inside and unable to go outside. It's difficult. I can understand that. Small breaks where you get up inside the house and walk around are good. Small times when you can go outside wearing a mask and stay safe and social distancing. If you can continue doing these activities just for your own personal health, I think is important. I don't think people should just remain inside and stay closed in, because that has so many negative effects, especially in patients that are already sick from other issues. Those patients, again, we always say that if you're in the hospital for a long time, every day in bed, you lose more and more muscle mass, you get weaker, and it's more difficult for patients that are post-op or that are recovering from surgery to recover if they're not moving. The same goes for people that are stuck at home. If you're not moving around, guess what? You're going to get weaker. You're not going to have that same oomph that you had before, and you're going to have difficulties later on. So it's good to move around, even if it's just getting up, walking around the apartment, or better off walking outside for 20 to 30 minutes. Something is better than nothing.
Vitamin D3 from the sun.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, doctor, for your time. I'm going to be sharing here at the, little remarks that I do on Facebook and Twitter, and also all your information so people can call you. I know that you guys are doing now telemedicine, so it's good if somebody has
Absolutely.
or they're feeling bad. Any final remarks, doctor?
I think that, thank you once again for inviting me. It's been a pleasure. I think that for people that are outside that don't know what a vascular disease is or don't know what a vascular surgeon is, don't be afraid of the word surgeon. Again,
Okay.
the most time that I spend with a patient is explaining to them what they have and to tell them that they do not need a procedure. Oftentimes they come in and they want a procedure done, when in actuality, they only need to change a little bit of their lifestyle to help prevent a major surgery or a major complication. We deal with a lot of issues. We deal with patients that have stroke and stroke-like symptoms, what's called a transient ischemic attack. We deal with people that have aneurysms. We can repair those as well, whether it's open surgery or endovascular. We deal, of course, with veins and varicose veins, and people that have not only unsightly veins, but pain in their legs from veins. And, also with arterial disease in the legs. So before someone gets a major amputation, before someone has an ulcer that's not healing and it's not getting fixed with just simple wound care, they should see a vascular surgeon. If people are having strokes and they don't know why, they should see a vascular surgeon. And if someone just wants to talk and say, what exactly is vascular disease and what is going on and how can I do better on my own to help prevent these things from getting worse, they should see a vascular surgeon. We're here at the University of Miami, eager and helpful to all those that come in with vascular problems.
Thank you so much, doctor. As I always say to all my friends here who are watching us, we're here to share the information from you guys, the doctors, not just health coaches or Google doctors. So we're here to share facts. Thank you so much for your time. Please share this video, comment, and we're here for you. Thank you so much, doctor.
Gracias, que se cuiden. Chao.
Gracias.